How's it going, guys? Back with another video for some fighting game stuff. And unless you're under a rock, you've heard that the Japanese fighting game developer roundtable is happening. It happened yesterday, and I watched it. So I want to go over the points or the questions they went over, and how absurd their answers were, because their answers are very absurd. Let me pause real quick. So they've had five questions, and they had some announcements, right? I'm not gonna go over the announcements because it's like whatever. It's not for any game I play. Those stuff come out later. Like Grand Blue is, excuse me, Grand Blue is supposed to get an announcement next week or something like that, and then Dragon Ball or whatever. But and Street Fighter also. Street Fighter's having an announcement next week. So those out of the window. The Tekken Season 4 announcement has happened. Soul Calibur, basically a new season, and then some Sam Show stuff. It's kind of what they went over. And Fighting Edge Layer has rollback, which is the only one who has rollback. So let's go over the questions. So the first question they gave over was the selection of the roster characters, which is like, okay, whatever. They gave some decent answers, I guess. They explained like the process of why they pick characters who they are, and a lot of the times they go for, they do the polls, right? See what people want, what characters people want for their game, and it comes down to like, does the character fit in the system that they made? um, there is some bias, especially to like younger players, that they're the ones that are going to be out there filling out these polls, stuff like that. It doesn't seem like the older players do that much. And I forgot the other point they made. I'm trying to think. Well, I guess Street Fighter, they mentioned like how they would never kind of make a character that's kind of outside of the the scope of Street Fighter, where like it's kind of it's a world fight, like everybody from like around the world for the characters. So yeah, it's pretty lackluster question. It doesn't really matter that much. They went over each question like 8 minutes, 9 minutes. This one was interesting. This is a good question. Unfortunately, they gave the bullshit Japanese response, and the question, if you can't see it, I know my name is kind of blocking it, but I'll read it to you. So it's the future of crossplay features. And this is a good question. However, Harada kind of took over the idea, and he said that he approached a lot of the first party people, like Microsoft, Xbox, whatever, and basically he gave the bullshit responses like, there's a lot of hoops to go through, takes a lot of time and money. It's a lot of that in this fucking dumbass stream. It's too much time, it's too much effort, it takes too much money. That's basically what he's given the answer to. And they like the idea of crossplay, but they don't like work. As you can probably tell from Japanese developers, they don't like to do any fucking work for fighting games. So yeah, that's probably never gonna happen. We're probably never gonna get crossplay for any of these fucking games. Even though they all like it, they all like the idea of crossplay, which makes sense. But they're too fucking lazy to do anything. The next question. This is another dumbass question. About the arcade controllers. Basically, they kind of just go on a fucking back in my day rant about the arcade scene, controller versus pad, and some other dumbass fucking answers. Essentially, it was basically like, oh yeah, back in the day we had arcades, and then when Americans won like qualifiers, they had to come over here if they use pad. We'd have to like cater to them essentially, and it's like, because they're all old as fuck, so they all use arcade stick. None of them use pad usually. I think one person on the panel used pad, so it was just like basically discussing like how the dynamic has changed. People use other fucking controllers now. I don't know why this is even a question. For five questions, you would want to answer stuff that like matter to them. This has nothing to do with them. Why is that even a fucking question? It's fucking pointless. Oh, this is a great one. What would be the user experience in the future of fighting games? Well, this is fucking English is awful. What would be the user experience in the future fighting game, essentially? So, oh boy, this is a great one. They talked about AI a lot, and essentially what they said was how other games like FPS games, stuff like that. Oh, not really all FPS games. First of all, I can see in BRs, right? So in BRs in Fortnite, I don't know if they do it in Apex, but in Fortnite they absolutely do it. Is that if you are new to the game, they give you AI in the match. So it's like sprinkled in with like a bunch of beginner players and some bots, right? That just kind of run around the map and like fight you barely. And they're like, that'd be a cool idea for fighting. That's what people want, right? So they basically harped on AI and how the technology isn't there yet for fighting games to mimic that. But maybe in the future they'll sprinkle in some AI so you can fight in ranked. So it appears that more people are playing their fucking shitty game than usual. It's oh my god. They talk about like inputs and complex motions, but there's another question that comes up in this that talks about like um, the complexity of fighting games and how they've kind of simplified them in a way. But yeah, another dumbass question that makes no sense. Also, yeah, they talk about like simplification, but this is the real question for it. Perceived simplification of fighting games and countermeasures. So they didn't really like answer that much of this. It was kind of essentially like they go back and forth about how they're just trying to get more people to play fighting games and like the idea of balancing it. And it's Ishwatari goes over too because Strive is kind of like that project to see if fighting games could be even easier than they are for no fucking reason. So he kind of talks about how like Strive is doing their best to make it easier for the players, but still give like some complexity to the veterans for fighting games. That's yeah, we see how Strive's working out with that one. Strive's doing a real good job with that. So essentially, that's what they talk about for this question. This is, you know, you don't have to make everything fucking easier. People, you know how hard certain genres are, right? Like FPS game. There's so many hard genres for competitive video games. I don't understand the reason. You think people, new players come in, right? Like new players will eventually learn. There's gonna be some cracked 16-year-olds who just plays for 12 hours a day is gonna get fucking good in any genre. So this idea of like they're so scared that people can't fucking play their game is so absurd to me. When there's so many games that are just so difficult and these 16-year-olds just figure it out. It's not the end of the world, right? People are gonna learn how to play their game. And it doesn't mean everyone has to be a world fucking champion either. Like give people time to learn the game, right? Struggle is good for people. You're gonna struggle. I struggled. I'm not the first ever person to play a fighting game ever, and I learned it. So, and I fought people who played fighting games for a decade already, right? Like Lord Knight. Lord Knight, when I played him in Guilty Gear, he had a decade of fucking time ahead of me. You know, it doesn't mean I was able to catch up. I caught up. We played. I beat him in other fighting games before, right? Like people will learn. New people will come in to either replace the old people or to join side by side with them. You don't have to make every game easier and be scared that people are not gonna learn. It doesn't. That shit doesn't make any fucking sense. I understand if you want to make some things easier, like let's say for game mechanics. I guess Guilty Gear can be an example how the old RC system worked. I don't really know exactly how it worked, but I know it was much harder in games like Plus R and AC, and they simplified it with Exert, right? And Strive, and I think just Strive Roma Cat system is good. It's not. It's a simpler system to learn, but it still has some complexity to them, right? It's not as difficult to understand compared to like AC or Plus R. So they can do it, but they like harp on this fucking simplification shit so much. I don't understand. Like, how about you just give people better tools to learn the game, like a better training mode or a better tutorial? How about you like focus on that instead of making the game easier and easier, when in reality you're just making the game fucking worse. Like Strive, for example, people their whole thing with Strive was that let's make the game, the combo system less complex, but still have nice depth to it, right? But in reality, people just fucking run around doing 2H Bannerbringer, 2H Bannerbringer, 2H Bannerbringer, wall splat, like it does 90%. Like that doesn't do anything. Like that shit fucking backfired so bad in the beta. It was just the same. It was just the character doing the same 3 moves over and over and over again. It would do 60%. It like this oversimplification shit is so dumb. Okay, now they fucking. I think they're actually done with the questions. Did they even answer 5 questions? Wait, this is like 4 questions. Hold on. 1, 2, 3, 4. They answered 4 questions. Excuse me, I said 5. I thought they would actually do some fucking work for once. Oh my god, it's updates. Oh yeah, also DOA said fuck you. That was a good ending for DOA as well. DOA fans.